presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
I'd like to welcome everybody to our series of the Sacred Bonds of Marriage. The Sacred Bonds of Marriage. And we've covered so much in this series. We talked about what constitutes a valid marriage contract. We talked about the role of the guardian, the purpose of the dowry, and all of that leads to before marriage. And then we talked about after marriage, the role of the guardian, of the husband as the head of the family, how the husband is supposed to be the provider, the maintainer, the protector of the family. We talked about how he's supposed to know how to balance his duties, his obligations to his family with his obligations towards Allah. And so now today we're going to speak about the role of the wife in the marriage. We're going to go over the husband's rights, how the woman is supposed to fulfill her husband's rights in the marriage. And today I'm going to speak about that one particular part of being a wife that people today don't like to hear, which is obedience. Just like the children are supposed to obey their parents, just as the men are supposed to obey the people of authority. Well, guess what? The women are supposed to obey the people of authority too. And the person that's of your immediate authority is your husband. And it may sound harsh to some of you, but that's how it is. Like I'm always telling you, the truth is a bitter pill to swallow. Okay, a woman is supposed to obey her husband, but it doesn't mean what people think it means. It doesn't mean that a woman doesn't think. It doesn't mean that a woman doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't mean that a woman doesn't have a voice, nor does it mean that she has to obey him in everything he tells her to do either. Oh no, don't get it twisted. So let's talk about what obedience of the wife entails, what it really entails in Islam. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. I'm always using PowerPoint. You guys know that about me. And Alhamdulillah, this is the book that I strongly suggest that anyone who's single buy before you get married. This book called Sacred Bonds, Navigating the Depths of Muslim Matrimony and the Family. This book is a great book. It's written by one of my students, Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Of course, it's based on the Quran, it's based on the Hadith, and it speaks about, what constitutes a valid marriage contract and what your role is as a wife, husband, etc. I got a lot of new Muslims here who are hoping to be married soon. You need to buy this book and read this book and listen to my lectures from this book, because it'll guide you as to what is expected from you as a husband, as a wife, and all of that. So tonight we're going to cover the obedience of the wife. What does it mean and what does it entail? And in modern day talks, the concept of wives obeying their husbands has become an issue that people don't want to hear really or even discuss, especially in the West. Because living in a country like America, emphasis is placed on gender equality and all of that. When in Islam, it's the total opposite. There is no gender equality, not the way Western non-Islamic people view it. I mean, we believe that a husband and wife live together in harmony and peace and love. But there are roles that a man has, which we covered. And there are roles that a woman has. We each perform our roles and our duties as outlined to us by Allah. And doing so will cause us to have a successful marriage. Okay, so we have to understand that one of the roles is that if you're married to a man who's fulfilling his obligations, he's your guardian, he's your ruler, he's your protector, your provider, your maintainer, your sustainer, and all of that. So he should be obeyed. He should be obeyed regarding the things that Allah commanded us to obey him in. We don't obey him in anything he says. If he tells you to jump like a dog, you don't jump like a dog. You tell him, you crazy? No. He tells you that he doesn't want you to use a dishwasher. Are you out your mind? Get out of here. But now if he tells you that when he leaves to go to work, you know, if you decide to go somewhere, you call and ask him, ask his permission, just so he can know where you are in case something happens. You obey him in that. So a wife's obedience does not imply inferiority or oppression. Instead, in Islam, it's a sacred trust, and it's a mutual respect between spouses, ordained by Allah, not by man, by Allah. And remember, Allah knows his creation better than the creation knows itself. And Allah is not oppressive. Allah did not make rules to hurt anyone. Okay? Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning. Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given them over women in strength. And because they spend for them, they maintain them from their money. So Allah lets it be known that men are the rulers of the home. They're the ones that do the hard work. It's their job to go out and find a way to provide and maintain and sustain this family. Okay? Islam is based on a hierarchy, okay, of marital relations, of rights and roles. And this is not oppressive. It's for our betterment. And again, just because a woman is supposed to obey her husband does not mean that she's a servant to him or that she's a slave to him. It's the total opposite. First of all, the wife, represents stability within the family. She's the one that not only keeps the children together, she's the one that not only maintains the inside of that home. She's the one that not only makes sure that all the bills are paid, but she's the one that's going to have her husband's back and give him the encouragement and strength that he needs to handle the outside affairs. So obedience from the wife, it creates a sense of tranquility and peace within the household. Because your husband is out there handling the hard things. So when he comes home, he needs comfort. He needs someone that he can open up to, who can understand him and massage away, his hardships. Okay? Listen to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said, if a woman believes in Allah, performs her 5 prayers every day, fasts the month of Ramadan, protects and guards her chastity and her modesty, and obeys her husband, then when she dies, it will be said to her, enter paradise through whichever of the gates you wish. So, As we can see, this hadith here, it underscores the spiritual rewards that await an obedient wife in the hereafter. A wife that doesn't keep drama going. You know, a man comes home from work after working hard all day, you know, and here he got a wife that's complaining. Remember the story of Ismail. May Allah be pleased with may Allah be pleased with him. Alayhi salam. Ismail, the son of Abraham. Exactly. Sorry. Ismail, the son of Abraham. Remember, he had married a woman, and then his father came to visit when he wasn't there, and he asked his wife, you know, how's your husband? And all she did was complain about how he doesn't do enough for her. So Ibrahim basically left a message for her to tell her husband when he comes home that he needs to divorce her because she's not a good woman. After working all day, you come home and some woman complaining about how you ain't did enough for her, how she wants more. You know, this is a woman that's not deserving of marriage. This is a woman that's not deserving of the paradise. But for a woman who's kind and sweet, you know, and helps her husband to relax, you know, this is a great thing. But again, obedience, it brings about unity. It brings about cooperation within the family. I want y'all to remember that we always say the children are a reflection of the parents. You can tell, you know, if you see children who are happy, children who are carefree and happy, that's a sign that they got some good parents. If these children are mannerable and polite, that means they come from good stock. So just as children are a reflection of the parents, the woman is a reflection of her husband. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in another authentic hadith, you want to know about a man, look at the women in his family. Look at the women in his household. Is his wife happy? Are his daughters happy? Okay? A woman is a reflection of her man, reflection of her husband. So, you know, obedience, it's not to degrade you. If you married, that's why I tell you, sisters, before you get married, ask yourself, is this man who is interested in marrying you, is he worthy of my obedience? That's what I do. I never married any man without asking, because I know that I'm supposed to obey him. And I'm going to do my job. I'm going to obey him in what Allah commanded me to do. That's something big. I have to really trust you. So the question is, are you worthy of my obedience? Are you worthy of this? That's how you women need to look at it. You just don't settle for any man. You have to have your guardian investigate his background. Have your guardian spend time with him to see what his character is. Have your guardian talk to him and see how he handles his emotions, how he handles his anger, his frustration. Because that man is your ruler. That man is your king. You are his queen. Is he deserving of your queenship? That's how I tell you, sisters, to look at it. Because obedience to anyone other than Allah is a big responsibility. So the man has to be worthy of it. So that's how we look at it as Muslims. So it's nothing to put you down about. And our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam exemplified the importance of wifely obedience in his own marital relationships. All his wives obeyed him. And he had 11 wives. They all obeyed him. Why? Because he was kind, because he was compassionate, because he treated them all with respect and dignity. Even though he had 11 wives, he was not like you people today. He was not oppressive. He didn't have no wife living in the same house with another one. He let his wives know, you are my wife. You married me. You didn't marry these other women. You don't have to have a relationship with these other women other than when you see them, give them their rights of assalamu alaikum and stuff. Nowadays, we got brothers, you guys are trying to be like the Kafirs. You marrying women and you're oppressive. You're not merciful. You're making them think that they're supposed to be friends with your other wives. That ain't Islam. We don't do that. Allah didn't make women that way. Allah didn't create us. We have a natural inherent jealousy. No woman likes to see her man with another woman. Any woman that tell you she do got a mental problem because it goes against the laws of nature. That ain't how Allah created the woman. But you brothers want to force your women to be co-wives, sister wives, like the LDS do. We're not LDS crazy people. Them people do incest. Them people got all kind of filthy issues. We're nothing like them. Okay? Our Prophet Muhammad is the example. And we're going to talk about polygamy next week. I want you brothers to understand, you sisters, ask yourself, did the Prophet Muhammad, were his wives best friends? Were his wives hanging out together? Were his wives visiting each other's houses and laughing and talking? No. I'm sorry. The truth is a bitter pill to swallow. Get it together, people. A lot of you brothers bring unnecessary pain to your wives. The Prophet Muhammad wasn't like you. All his wives felt loved. Even though everybody knew that Aisha was his favorite, he never showed it. Solomon will tell you that he made her feel that there was no other woman on earth but her. He made Zaynab feel that way too, even Sauda. Even though Sauda gave up her nights, she still felt that there was no other woman like her because the Prophet always told her, you are the foundation of my family, because she was good with children and all the children loved her. All his stepchildren and children would come to her. She'd cook for them, play with them. He told her, you are my foundation. So all his wives felt special. They all felt loved. He knew all of their strengths. He knew all of their weaknesses. He could tell when something was bothering one. So he's our example to follow. And he would never ask his wives to do anything that would cause them pain or discomfort. And he would never tell them to do anything that contradicts the morals of Islam. And this is why we have to understand obedience. Obedience doesn't mean oppression. Obedience is not even a synonym of that word. This man, I obey him because he's deserving of it, because he loves his God. He fulfills his obligations to Allah, and he loves me. So he's deserving of my loyalty, my allegiance, and my obedience, because I know he would never have me do anything that would hurt me or undermine me. Does everybody understand that? And again, Western or non-Muslims don't think this way. And that's why there's such a high divorce rate amongst the non-Muslims. They believe in gender equality, that women and men are equal. I can go out and make the money and bring it home and fry it up in the pan too. I can be the man too. I can go put on my Brogane boots and go out there and do some construction work in the street just like the man. I can go join the army, become a soldier and pump it up like him. So that's why divorce has fallen so terribly in the West. Okay? But if we uphold the laws of Allah, the virtues of wifely obedience will serve as a blessing for us, a guidance for our children, and peace for both of us. Okay? And we have to also remember, as Muslims, we're living in a non-Islamic society. We're not supposed to compromise our Islamic ideals and our Islamic morals because we live in a Western world. If anything, we hold on firmer and tighter to those morals and those ideals. Now I want to speak about this hadith right here that a lot of Muslim men use to break and oppress their Muslim wives. We have this hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if I were to command anyone to prostrate before another person, I would have commanded the wife to prostrate before her husband. That hadith is not saying that women are supposed to prostrate to their husbands. As Muslims, we don't prostrate to anyone or anything but Allah, because prostrating to anyone or anything is an act of worship, and all actions of worship are reserved for Allah alone. What the Prophet was saying in this hadith is about respect and about fulfilling obligations. This hadith illustrates the higher status that Allah gave to men within the family because they have the strength that women don't have. They are the providers. They are the maintainers and the protectors. And that's a hard job to feel, to go out every day and provide, maintain, and kick and kill for you. You should show your gratitude to him by being humble to him. But this hadith in no way is saying that a woman worships her husband. We don't worship anyone or anything except Allah. We have a hadith of Salama, one of the Prophet's wives. She said, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, any woman who dies and her husband is happy with her, she will enter paradise. Okay? Again, for those women who do everything in their power to fulfill their obligations to Allah and to obey their husbands in the things that Allah commanded us to obey him in, again, this is a great way to attain paradise. But again, this is not saying that we are slaves. Okay? Muslim women, we express our opinions. We express our likes and dislikes. Remember, we are the ones that run the home. Your husband cannot decorate or do anything to that house unless you approve it, because the inside of the house is your castle, your domain. So we give our opinions. If I say I don't want this in my house, he can't bring it in there. So Islam is a check and balance. Allah doesn't give too much authority to one person over another. And again, if your husband tells you to do something that contradicts what Allah says, you do not obey him in it. If your husband tells you, for example, I don't want you wearing a hijab, you tell him, your problem, bounce. Your husband tell you, I want you to go out and get a job. You look at him and say, your problem, bounce. You can't make me work. It ain't my job to work. That's your job as a man. I don't stop covering up. This is my obligation to Allah. Allah first and foremost, then the Prophet Muhammad, then me, Aki, you later on. So we only obey our husband in the things Allah commanded us to obey him in. And what are those things? Number one, you don't allow anyone in his home without his approval. You obey him in that. Number two, you yourself don't leave the home unless he knows where you're going. That's number two. Number three, you will guard in his absence anything he'd have you guard. That means the children, the inside of the house, and yourself. You obey him in those things. Number four, you answer the call when he calls you to his bed. These are the things that we obey our husband in. But when it comes to, can he make me move to the projects? No. Can he tell me that I can't use a dishwasher? No. That's oppression, not obedience. That ain't got nothing to do with Islam. That has to do with some mental issues. Okay? Do I obey him because he wants me to do something haram? No. He wants me to go to the store and buy him a pack of cigarettes. Do I obey him in that? No. He wants me to go out and sell drugs for him. Do I obey him in that? No. These are things you divorce him for. If your husband tells you to do something that contradicts Islam, you got grounds for divorce. If he tells you to do something that's going to make life unnecessarily difficult for you, that's grounds for divorce too. Okay? So I want y'all to understand, Allah doesn't give a man all this power over you like a lot of Western people believe. We only obey him in what Allah commanded us to obey him in. Because there's no disobedience to Allah. Allah says in the Quran, in the interpretation of the meaning, the Jews and Christians took their rabbis and their monks to be lords besides Allah by obeying them in things which they made lawful or unlawful. Allah didn't make it unlawful for me to use a dishwasher. So what makes you think that you can make it haram? Y'all see that? Allah didn't make it haram for me to have a washing machine and a dryer. But you want to tell me that I got to wash clothes by hand? No, I ain't obeying you in that. Do y'all see that? As the prophet said when this verse was sent down, the Jews, they made things unlawful that Allah made lawful, and vice versa. And instead of the people questioning their leaders, their rulers for that, they allowed them to do it. This is a form of worship. We don't worship our husbands. We only worship Allah. And if you married a good man, he's not going to want you to be oppressed anyway. What righteous man is going to tell a woman that he doesn't want her to use a dishwasher or to use a washing machine? He wants her to wash the kids' clothes and his clothes by hand. That's an oppressor anyway. Okay? That's why you have to be careful choosing a husband. That's why your guardian has to really take the time to make sure that the man that you marry is not an idiot, that he has no mental issues, and he's not an oppressor that would ask you silly things like that. In Islam, we don't blindly follow anyone. No one. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there is no obedience to the creation over the creator. So as a wife, we obey our husband in the things Allah commanded us to obey him in. If he tells us to do something that is harmful, oppressive, or sinful, we do not. I repeat, we do not. I repeat, we do not obey him in that. And if he asks you to do something that's harmful to yourself, or he asks you to do something that's oppressive, or he asks you to do something that's haram, you better get on that phone and seek a kula, because life is too short and too many people take advantage of us. All right. So I'm going to stop right there. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Are there any questions or comments on this? Hope I made this obedience clear.